I know,
I competed for 4 years at Ridge High School when I was a freshman my senior year. That's in Central New Jersey, and then I graduated there and I went to Seton Hall University, and I competed for 4 years there. And I've been coaching high school for 5 years. This is my second year out. I graduated in '07, so I've been coaching Seton Hall for last year and now this year again. And I'm really happy to be here. It's good to see all of you. Showing new faces is always awesome. And the reason I do little get to know you things is because I was always taught, and what I think is a really healthy way to view speech, is that being a good public speaker isn't necessarily speaking well. It's being a good person who speaks well. And I think that's kind of the main thing that sets our district and people in our district apart, because we really do get along. It's a very connected, supportive atmosphere, and it's kind of like supportive for a reason, so that we can all perform to our best ability. And that's what everyone is there to cheer you on for. So I'd like everyone to be friends and have fun conversations on the side and focus on your work, yes, which we'll about to get into, but more like, enjoy each other and figure things out about each other that you wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. So, dramatic interpretation is what we're talking about, yes, okay. Drama. So there are pretty much two ways to look at drama. In high school, which is different from college, for those of you who competed in high school, there is humorous interpretation and dramatic interpretation. The humor and drama are separate. In college, it's not that the two are brought together, it's more of a melting pot situation where we have a synthesis of the two. So pieces of dramatic literature will make you laugh and cry, which is more effective in my opinion because you get a full spectrum of emotion as opposed to just sticking to one kind of thing, which has time and place. But so these things, again, I've emphasized this in other sessions, but I will do it again, is time. Time restrictions in speech is a maximum of 10 minutes. You cannot exceed 10 minutes. There is no grace period. After 10 minutes, you will most likely get deducted. You can get deducted in the rules. It says you can exceed 10 minutes. So don't exceed 10 minutes because, as I told other folks, there aren't a lot of things you can control in speech. You definitely can't control who's judging you. You can't control their opinions and their thoughts and how their day was going and whether or not they're going to like what I have to say to them or they like my message. But I can control how long I speak. I can time it out over and over and over again, and I can make sure that I don't exceed 10 minutes and that I use the time to my best ability, which means while there is no time minimum, it's important to use those 10 minutes to your best ability. Because if I was a speaker who was equally good as speaker B, and I spoke for 6 minutes and they spoke for 10 minutes, as a judge, obviously you would pick speaker B, because they made the most use of the time and the resources available. And that's kind of what we want to do. Basic technicalities of it anyway. So where do you find DI, right? Because that's the first thing you gotta do, is you gotta find this literature that you want to perform. AFA rules say that DI can come from 3 sources. It can be a stage play, a screenplay, or a radio broadcast play, kind of. So most of the DIs you'll see will be found as stage. So you find dramas from books, plays, and whatnot. And that's what most people are comfortable with, what's most well known, what's most easily accessible, I'd say, in a way. But don't knock, radio or screenplays, because they do hold like undiscovered resources if you want to take time to search for them. Especially radio, I feel. A little insight tip, NPR has awesome radio broadcasts that have great drama if you just kind of have to take the time to go and listen to them all. And several other stations do this as well. You just kind of have to search a bunch. But if you have access to New York City, they have a drama bookshop there, which is just walls of plays, so.
I heard it was 18 miles.
Sorry? No, that's Strand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, I did Strand and drama bookshop in one trip, though, so yeah. Strand is 18 miles a book. And they do have a drama section there, too. If you go to New York, you go to Strand Bookstore. 18 miles books, tons of books, really cheap and expensive books that you can flip through, and there's a whole drama section that you can go through. So if you happen to make it out there, it's a good idea to stop by. Okay, so once you find basically you're going to spend a lot of time reading, and you're going to spend a lot of time searching for a character that fits you. That's what's most important. Finding a character that you feel you connect with, that you can really explain. and finding a piece that really speaks to you and has a message, and what we call a thesis. A thesis is the reason I stand up in front of a room and speak as a performer for 10 minutes. A thesis is a message that I, as a performer, want to give to you. That is the reason that you've come. It gives you a validation for sitting there. It's what you say in your intro. It's basically, I shouldn't stand up there and talk if I don't have something that can affect your lives. See what I mean? So what you want to do is you want to go through and read and read and read and read. And don't settle for something that isn't what you love. Find something that really speaks to you, something that has a great message or a great character. Or several characters. So there are a couple options you can go through. There's, what makes DI, I think, dramatically different from prose is that, because some people get confused about the fine line between the two, because while there's a technicality line where a prose can be a play, because it's a bound book, it should be a bound book, a drama can never be a short story. See what I'm saying? So, because it's not a stage, it wasn't meant for stage, it wasn't meant for radio, it wasn't meant for screen, so it can't be a DI. It's very kind of simple if you put it that way. So I'll clear on what is a DI, what's not a DI. And aside from the sheer fact of where it's found, what book it's found in, and where it was meant to be performed, in general, what I find a difference in the technicality of it in performance is drama is more rip your heart out and like throw it on the ground and leave it for them and then sit down. Prose is a bit more subtle, I think. It's more getting to know an individual character. And while you do get to know characters in drama, it has a bit more of a strength and intensity to it because it's meant for stage. It's meant for, bigger acting roles. It's a closer thing to acting than prose. All right, any questions thus far? Are we all good on what is a DI and all that fun stuff? Good, awesome, perfect. Following on the train. Okay. Great. So also, what DI might have at opposed to prose is a stronger dialogue and a lot more what we call character pops. Do you know what character pops are? Yeah. Some of you, no. Yeah, okay, yeah, a little hazy. Yeah. Character pops, what you might have in DI is several different characters. You might not necessarily be one person, but your resources are you. You have yourself, your voice, your body. That's all you have. And your book, which, area, will be your best friend by the end of the tournament. Sadly, one of your fun friends. Buy it, there you go. All right.
Don't lose your book.
Yeah, don't lose it. It really becomes like your right hand. And so you have this, and you have your voice. And that's what you have to create 1 to 10 characters, depending on your selection. So in order to specify when one character is talking versus another character talking, what you would do as a performer is pop, which means, so sentence A is spoken as this person, and then say sentence B is a little girl. So it would be sentence A, sentence B, you know what I mean? And then you pop back and forth, right? So what has to change, what I tell my kids, is it's a voice, it's your stance. So your shoulders, your hips, your knees, and your face. Those are all 4 things that are included in the character pop. And those are all things that should change. And aside from that initial shift, so say my regular, me type character stands like this, little girl might like have her feet out, her hips out, and look up more in general and have bigger eyes, because little kids do that, and be freer with her gestures and a little like less restrictive than normal adults are, she's a little bit crazier. And it's a whole new stance. And what you do when you find a piece is that you take apart your characters. And what I think is easier is just to observe people for a day. Just to sit on a bench and street walk or what is it? People watch, right? That's what it's called. And observe their nuances and different things to do and how they talk and how they walk and if they scratch their neck sometimes, or like if an old man will like rub his nose sometimes, that could be, it's kind of like an old man thing to do, right? Like smoke a pipe or like, like little things people do that can kind of add to your character and make them a more realistic individual, which is what we're really ultimately aiming for. And then the pops, once you have each character down, that's when you practice doing your pops. And pops are just practice. That's all it is. It's just doing it over and over again with someone. Having someone clap when you have to change character. Because that helps too. If you hear the noise, then you know to instantly shift, because it should be an instant shift. And sometimes it's harder. Sometimes you'll get like your voice in, but your body won't change. Or you'll get your body in, but your voice will stay the same. And so